Let's kick it off anyway. Thanks again, everyone, for coming to another ACF Chat Fridays. This is our open office hours with the ACF team, which is 3 of our engineers. We've got Phil Johnston, Liam Gladdy, Matt Shaw. We've also got Mike Davey from our content team, and I'm Ian Paulson, the product manager. We do this every month. We do it on the first Friday of each month. We record the session and we put it on YouTube. We also do a video, we also do a blog post on the Advanced Custom Fields blog with a recap and embedding the videos if you ever can't make it. And yeah, this is our session where you can come and talk ACF, talk about things you're building with ACF, talk about any problems you're having, anything that's not that you need some help with. You can kind of directly get help from the engineers. So this is always quite a good session. Very welcome to throw questions into the chat, use the Q&A, or unmute, raise a hand or whatever when we do that. What was I gonna do? Recap. We haven't done any releases since the last one. We did 6.4 on the 7th of April, which had HPOS WooCommerce support for it. So if you haven't updated to ACF 6.4, please go ahead and do that. It might be 6.4.1 maybe by that time you do it, but I think we're still 6.4, are we? Yeah. What else have we done? We had the WP Engine Decode virtual conference last 2 weeks ago. I've got to really start getting track of my dates, but I'm sure we'll drop some links in. The ACF session was really good. One of our colleagues, Rob Stinson, took that and talked around using ACF as an agency and using ACF Blocks to craft really good content editing experiences for clients, and doing that with ACF Blocks. Yeah, Mike's just dropped the link to the Decode sessions in the chat. We also had a really good demo, a mini demo of some stuff that's upcoming in ACF that we are planning for one of the sort of upcoming major releases. We're not necessarily sure quite when it's going to drop, but it's something that the team have been working really hard on. So if you did catch that, you've got a glimmer of what we're going to do now. Yeah, I think, Phil, you're going to do a demo of this new feature. Well, I'll let you explain it. I won't steal the thunder. And yeah, if anyone's got any questions, either related to the demo or any problems they've got, or any general ACF questions, drop it in the chat or drop it in the Q&A, or we can do questions after the demo. But yeah, this is a session where we want to expand on the demo that was in Decode, the upcoming feature, and show you how very cool that is. So, Phil, if you're good to go, take over.
Let me just get my screen share going. Okay. You guys see this okay?
Yes, we do.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, the feature that we're working on is still in progress, but we're making some good progress on it. And basically the concept is, like, with an ACF block, it's easy to make blocks because you can just write PHP, right? You don't have to have a whole JavaScript set up with Webpack and everything. You can just make blocks with PHP, sort of like you always would make stuff with WordPress back in the day. And it's just such a simpler way to make blocks for the block editor. But one of the drawbacks typically has been that you can't click in place where you see the things. Like, it's the what you see is what you get. So while you can build your own render template and put HTML in there, I have a block kind of set up to show. So let me just put that in here if I can. Let me get out of here a sec. Oops. Let's use this one. Okay, I'm a little ahead of myself, but let me put in a demo block here. So this is a simple block here. So I've coded this with just HTML and PHP, and it's a pretty simple block. You've got a few fields over here on the sidebar. And if I show you my render template that powers this, it's really not very much code. So this is all the code that makes up that block that you're seeing there. And if you made blocks or HTML before, you can recognize some of the syntax here. And then obviously we've got the ability to get fields from ACF. So here I'm getting a field called heading, and I'm just echoing it to the page inside an H2 tag. And the same thing for a paragraph tag. And then I have a button or an anchor tag with a few attributes as well. So that's what's powering what you see here. And if I make changes to that render template, it'll change what's here. But what we're working on now is that you can now click to type right in place. So I can say, this is my heading. And if you notice the in the sidebar, this is normally where you'd edit your ACF fields over here. And you can see that it's typed it basically into my field as well. And I can type here, so I can remove things here, or I can remove them here. And the same thing here, I can say this is my description. And I can click to edit the button right in place. So click me, and then I can click on the outside of the button, and it gives me the URL that it's going to go to. I can say advanced custom. So there's still some small bugs that we're working on. But you can get the concept here is that basically it's just scanning through your render template, and it's finding the things that you can edit and making them editable inline. And so let me give you a bit of a bigger demo. So I've done a demo here where I made another block that just takes all the HTML from the Advanced Custom Fields homepage. So let me go to that. It's called ACF homepage. This is a block that I made. So basically, I've just got all the HTML from the ACF homepage here. And if I show you my render template here for this, it's very similar. It's just the HTML, and I've copied the CSS into my theme as well. And then wherever I want fields, I've created ACF fields. So you can see heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, image 1, heading 5, text area 1, learn more button text, and learn more button link. So if I show you my field group for this, these are the fields that correspond to this. Actually, yeah. So here. Oh, I'm on the wrong site for this one. Hang on a sec. I need to be on that port. Sorry, right before my demo, my Chrome had to restart. So I ended up in the wrong install here. One sec. That's my password.
Yeah, it's good to, while you're doing that, Phil, it's good to see, Kristen, you've recognized how good this is, because yeah, showing when Phil was showing the sidebar as where to edit the data, that's one place to edit it. But currently the preview shows the render template, but if you go into edit mode, you get this form with the edit fields for the ACF field group, with all of them just in a very simple form, which is not a normal editing experience within the block editor. So that this kind of does away with that edit form in the main block editor area and just turns it into sort of native inline editing, I guess it is what we've been calling it.
Yeah, inline editing is kind of our code name for it right now. So I'm now in the right install, sorry. So here's my fields that actually correspond to that. So you can see heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, image 1, heading 5, text area 1, learn more button link, and learn more button text. So again, those correspond to my render template here, where I'm getting the field called heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3, and so on and so forth. And so if I go over to my page again, I'm going to use this block. So I'll just add it again here to make sure that we're starting from scratch. If I can, oh, right. Some of this navigating in the block editor is still hard for me too, but this makes it quite a bit simpler, as you can see here. So basically I can just change whatever I want here. So I can say type right in place, no JavaScript needed. Just works. And I can type here. So here's where I've decided to put my heading 5, and I can say this is another heading. This is a paragraph, and I can type whatever I want on this button here. Click me, and I can change where I want this button to go. And I can also edit things like images. So here I've got an image field. And so if I click on the image, you can see it pops up above the image as well. It's detected that there's an image there. And I can remove this image and add another one. And again, this is not like I didn't have to write any JavaScript to make this happen. All it's doing is saying, oh, there's an ACF field that was used here, and it exposes the UI in place, allowing you to edit whatever you need, wherever you need. So it's a really, really fast way to make compelling and easy to use blocks. So yeah, that's the gist of what we're working on there. And we're looking for feedback too. Like, are there things that you would want this to do that you're not seeing in this demo yet? Are there edge cases that you might think of in blocks that you've created for yourself, or just stuff that we're not thinking about, or needs or wants that you might have? So yeah, we're definitely also looking for feedback as we're building this out. So yeah, that's basically the demo. I'll check the chat here.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a question in chat, Phil. Can you talk a little bit about how the different ways you can output in your template for it to be detected as something that should be editable?
Sure. Yeah. So there's two ways that we're kind of approaching this right now, and one is, let's look at the render template here. The way that I'm kind of showing in this demo is the more automatic way of doing it, where you don't have to manually put in any extra code into your render template. But I think we've decided that that's not going to be the default experience. We're probably going to make it so that you have to turn a toggle on to say, hey, I want you to make these automatically show up as inline editable fields. Otherwise they won't. And if you want, because sometimes this isn't going to work with a more complicated render template, let's say, where we can just scan it and sort of magically put these fields in place for you. And so you might not want us to be doing this magic scanning thing and showing it. And so the way to do it without that would be that you'll add some additional attributes, like HTML attributes to this tag. So to the H2 tag, you would go, I don't have them offhand in my head, but basically we have a data ACF inline editable, and you would say true. And that then exposes this to be inline editable. We're going to make it simple though, because it's there's some complexity to this. You don't want these attributes to show up on the front end. You only want them in the editor. So we need to sort of conditionally output these attributes for you. So we'll probably create some helper functions that do it based on whether the person has author access, and then those attributes only end up on there if they do, so that they don't kind of clutter up your front end. But yeah, there's going to be ways to manually do this as well, so that you can really build out more complicated blocks. And if you hit edge cases with the way that we're trying to automatically do it, you also have the power to do it all yourself. But again, you're not writing any JavaScript for this. It's just going to be HTML attributes that you add to your elements to make them editable.
Will you be able to add an attribute that defines the field? So say you've got 3 fields that by default all have the same value. Will that be detectable by an attribute as well?
If they all have the same value, yeah. When you're doing it with attributes, it doesn't matter what the value is. You can just define them. So basically there's another attribute that's data inline editing fields, I think, and it takes a JSON array. So then you would have field 1, field 2. Essentially like that. And then when you click on this element, if there's multiple fields in this array, it'll pop it up as a toolbar. So like what you're seeing with the image here. So basically, you'll have the number of fields that you put in here, you'll have those buttons as they go out. So let me see if I can change that even here. Let me see.
We've been focusing more on the magic stuff first because we wanted to get that working. But as we've said, that's kind of a very it's perfect for this example, but if you're doing something complicated, like where you've got a select that will change the layout based on two different things, then obviously that isn't going to work because you'll be, this fields won't be visible until you've changed something else. So giving you the way, basically, like ACF does every possible point, you can go as deep or as easy as you want, and we'll try and give you steps at each point of how you want to explore and use this.
Totally.
We had a question about scheduled time for releasing. I think summer is all we're gonna say right now. I look at Ian here. We want to do it. We'll do previews of this, so they will be sooner. Well, I guess it's almost summer now, but early summer for some previews where you can install it, opt in, and see how it goes, give us feedback and report bugs and things like that.
Yeah, and Marcel, yeah, you're asking about the repeater.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that as well. Repeater is obviously one of the harder ones. That's never going to work in magic mode. Same as flexible content and those really complicated field types. They're just not meant for that. One of the things I think we struggle with is understanding repeater usage in blocks, because it's almost like that's it's a juxtaposition really of what the block editor is, right? Because you could your repeater row could be a separate block, and then you use inner blocks to drop those in, and then you get the same native experience. And if you want to use that in magic mode, that will absolutely work. The inner blocks will support magic mode. But trying to build a UX that's nice for a repeater, adding new rows and understanding how that's going to work in the template is probably not something that will happen soon. I'm not going to rule it out forever, but it's certainly a significantly more complicated technical problem to solve. But yeah, we'll absolutely do documentation about how to use inner blocks to get the same effect by using locking in inner blocks to only allow one type of block, and then you essentially use that inner block as a row.
Yep.
Yeah, the thing with repeaters are, I mean, in inner blocks is definitely a way to accomplish it, but I still can see if people and clients have, I don't want to sound like I'm old, but sliders and carousels and those types of things that you wouldn't want a client to build out with inner blocks. You'd want to say, right, select multiple rows of an image, a title, an alt tag, or whatever. Give them the ability to fill that data in, and that is where the repeater really shines. And those are still things that are valid inside a block, because it will be, it's something that's in a block that's got inside a block that has, the slider. So, but yeah, it's quite difficult to try to, especially from, for the first version of this. But later on, we probably could look at, with feedback from users, what would be the best way to edit that data, because especially in the preview, if we imagine a slider, you're rendering all of the HTML, or you're looping through things, and then the JavaScript for the slider library is then just showing the first one. So in the render template, you've got one thing to look at and one thing to edit. So do you have to navigate through to edit them? And it's a bit like we're also looking to improve the sidebar, because the sidebar is, I don't know if this is in this demo, Phil, but the sidebar is, oh, nice. Yeah. The sidebar is cramped when you've got a repeater field or a complex field type with lots of width and subfields that to really make it hard to do it within that small sort of horizontal space. But now we've got this ability to break it a bit bigger and give editors like a kind of a nicer experience for complex field types.
So this is another demo. This is something separate to inline editing. This is coming in ACF Blocks v3, and that will be much sooner. This is how we intend to kind of deal with the fact of the iframe, basically, right? I don't know if you've tried to use, there's a bug right now. If you try and use an ACF block in a pattern, if you switch to edit mode, it may crash because of the way it's now iframed, and tiny MCE can't access inside of an iframe. So it crashes and you get block errors. That essentially means we can't show the edit form inline on a block anymore. This was going to be in WordPress 6.8 and it was going to be everywhere. Thankfully, they pulled it out to give us more time, and because we're not the only plugin that is affected by the iframe. So this will be the new editing experience for blocks going forward in v3. So yeah, edit button at the top. It launches this nice bigger modal. And yeah, we're also interested in feedback on that. Once you get repeaters and flexible content in this, do you need it wider? Should we make it optional that you can make it wider if you want? Do you want to be able to make it full screen? All that kind of stuff would be great to get feedback on.
Yeah.
And Kristen, you said really like that it's opt-in. I'm kind of happy to hear that, but also I was pushing for initially don't have it as an opt-in, just have it as automatically happen, because the magic mode, the ability to have magic mode working for sort of simple field types could mean we could just release it and then suddenly it just works really nicely. But actually, after reflection, and we've had lots of chats internally about this, there's going to be a very abrupt change to a content editor's workflow, because they know perhaps how to use the edit form. As a developer, you built that block for them, you've told them how to use it, you've told them how to edit the data, and then suddenly we change something and they're at sea because they're like, well, hang on, where's my edit form? They don't know to click to that. So yeah, this will be opt-in from a block.json perspective, like when you control it to say inline editing is on, and then obviously, as Phil and Liam said, you've got more granular controls for turning things on for certain field types or disabling the magic mode. But yeah, I think we've got to think of the editing experience for the clients and the end users, who would potentially just be very thrown by this, even though arguably it's great and it's a better experience, but only from day one for them, knowing that that's just how they edit their website.
Yeah, and it's impossible for us to know what a user's render template is like, right? Like, you've seen a great example of how it works, but who knows how well it's going to work in some super complicated blocks, and making the decision to turn that on for you isn't something I feel we should do as a developer tool. It's the developers that need to opt into how they want their experience to be for their users. So that's why we've gone there. We're not talking complicated either. Like, if you don't, it's literally a block.json change to opt into v3, and then to opt into inline editing, or just be setting it true. And say for magic mode would be another Boolean true. And it's those three things changing in your block.json will be enough to trigger that magic mode. You can test it, see how it works. And if you want to make changes, you can disable the magic mode or change your template to support it, however you want to build, basically.
Yeah.
Back to our philosophy of there are many ways to WordPress.
Definitely.
Marcel's got some good feedback about the sidebar, liking it as the overlay, going to improve user experience and maybe make it resizable. I feel like that's something we've discussed, but I don't know where we would land with that. I mean, that feels like it would be helpful, but I don't know from a technical point of view.
I don't think it would be too painful. So we'll go away and discuss this. I feel like it probably should. Well, maybe maybe it's an option that you can turn on. So it's a ACF setting that lets you just drag it. Maybe it's an option where you can just set the width you want it to be, and then it's that everywhere. We'd probably try and make it flexible like that, but not kind of give users full control in case they end up dragging it to 1 pixel wide, and then you get complaints about, why can't I see the edit form, it's broken, all those kind of things. So yeah, we'll try and think about the best way of supporting that in the most ACF friendly way.
Yep. Yeah, we also have like some handling for responsive here. So if you get too small, it just turns into a full-on modal.
Yeah,
that takes over the screen basically. So
and this is kind of the first step of us actually spending some time thinking about how repeaters work and how flexible content work in the block editor, because we know people use them, and we want to make sure that editing experience carries on.
If you're editing your WordPress site on your phone, you have far more patience than me. So Kristen says,
I'm sure we've all done it in an emergency. I've definitely been sat on a train on my phone before trying to fix something.
It's only the emergencies, I guess, when that needs to happen.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Cool. Good feedback.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nice. Great demo, Phil.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing it.
Well,
and yeah, we'll join the beta mailing list. I'm sure someone will put a link to that in chat. imminently, and you'll find out when those releases are available. It's certainly not going to be long. It's certainly not before you see that the option to opt into the edit form. We think that's going to be Blocks v3, and that will release public availability, and then the inline editing stuff will come in a point release or the next release after that. Thanks, Ian.
Oh, yeah, no worries. What I really like about that demo is the fact that we've obviously done a lot of internal sort of testing, and it's always been with like small blocks, like a testimonial block or something. But we the more we speak to agencies and freelancers and developers who are building sites for clients, they want to sort of give the end users almost the biggest possible sections of a site to drag around or edit or build out. And so what you've just done with the demo, where you've taken like quite a big chunky part of the ACF existing website, and just like you see the website rather than like have to break that view to then go to the edit form.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can imagine building sites like that now and giving them to clients and knowing that like they've got a true sort of WYSIWYG editor that looks like the front of the site. Like, and sometimes the block editor doesn't quite do that for me because it's so granular with all of the blocks, whereas actually I just want a block for the hero, and I want a block for like the next section, and then the footer down at the bottom, and I can just give controls to change the data that's in there. So yeah, that is such a powerful kind of unlock that this feature is going to give.
Yeah. I've never been super like happy with the nesting of blocks in the block editor. I've always found it a little clunky, where it's like, oh, what block am I on right now? You click on the page, but like you might be 10 next nested blocks inside blocks deep. And then you have to like traverse your way up or figure out if you're on the right block. Whereas with this, like, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to just remove nesting altogether. You can just have the entire chunk, and whatever you click on is just what works. It's not nested inside something. It's not a block inside a block. You just make the whole layout in your render template, and where you click is what you're editing, but you're still in the same block the whole time. You're not changing from block to block. There's no nesting. So I feel like it opens a lot of possibilities there for like building simpler layouts, but even more complex layouts that are easier to edit because you don't have to have as many blocks on the page. So
and actually, like what we're talking about now is not, we're not introducing that because of this feature. That was always what ACF Blocks has done. But the fact that this editing experience is now so smooth and so like normal and native, and clients and customers would expect just to click on something, and like if they come from Wix or Squarespace or whatever, click, type and change, rather than, oh, I'm clicking on this block, great, hit the edit button, turn to a form. Like, like it just, it probably is, it feels like it's the thing that then pulls ACF Blocks really together to make it a kind of an outstanding feature. So yeah, it's exciting. Every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is like, we've been working on it for a while, haven't we? And you just see it sort of day in, and then suddenly you see the demo, and you're like, this is good. Yeah. Did anyone else have any comments, questions, necessarily about the demo, but also about anything else, anything that's on your minds about ACF at the moment? Alrighty, well, I think that sounds like everybody's all good. Great demo again, Phil. Thank you very much. We can wrap it up a bit early, and yeah.
And if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments your feedback, because we actually do read that stuff. And it's great to see. Yeah,
the team are excited to hear from people and to get these features shaped and even better. So, and we're excited to get them shipped and in your hands. So yeah, appreciate everyone coming. We will see you next time, and yeah, have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks everyone. See you. Bye.